Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. My name is Macy. If you are a brand new listener, welcome to the podcast. And if you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back week after week. So today I'm going to go on a riff about how what we do not heal, we will continually attract. And that is because it seems to be coming up. So I hope for this to be a shorter episode, but one that refreshes you if you have, heard some similar content to this before, maybe even from me in earlier episodes. But also, if you've never heard this, I hope that it gives you some insight on maybe some things that you decide that you would like to change. So when we attract something over and over, and I'm going to talk more so about it in the sense of maybe what you would consider to be a negative experience you keep having, people you keep attracting into your world, a certain result you keep attracting into your world, like whatever it may be, I want to focus more so on like when it doesn't feel so great. So maybe you're dating and you keep experiencing similar people with similar traits and you're like, oh gosh, what is this about? Or maybe you're in business and you keep attracting a certain type of client where you're not so much like you're not really into it, but you don't know how to change it or why you're attracting it. Maybe it's friend groups. It could be really anything, certain situations with people that you already know and maybe even love in your life. And it's like, what's that about? So I want to talk about this because I think it's really easy to get stuck in a pattern where we feel like life is happening to us. And we unintentionally get into a victim mindset around that, thinking that we have no control over whatever is happening in our life or the results that we're getting. And what I want to remind you of is that you absolutely have more control than you think. Because any results that you're creating in your life, you are generating, whether you understand that or not, or whether you realize it or not. Okay, so here's something really, really powerful about the mind. The mind it sends out these energetic frequencies based on your thoughts. Same thing with your emotions. Your emotions generate energy and it sends out, you can think of it as invisible signals that are being sent out into the world. So your thoughts and your emotions send out all of these like little invisible signals that communicate a message out into the world. And therefore, without you even realizing it, create a result that boomerangs and comes back to you. So when there is a situation that you're experiencing over and over and over again, and you have this mindset of, why does this keep happening to me? What is this about? Why do I always end up in these same situations or when these same people or have the same result over and over and over again, and I put myself in a different environment, or I try to change a few things and I find myself still feeling like I'm in the same place that I was and have been unhappy with for a very long time. And that is because the core things are likely not changing, and that is what is happening in your mind, all of the thoughts that you're thinking on a daily basis, whether it's subconsciously, so you're not aware of it, or consciously, where you are aware of it, but you don't maybe know how to change it. And then also the emotions in your body that you may not have the capacity for. And when I say you don't have the capacity for, I mean there are thousands thousands, you guys, of emotions that we can have in a single day. Okay. Thousands of emotions that we have the opportunity to experience. And these emotions, we are not all equipped, or, like we're not all born equipped with the tools and the strategy and the knowledge of how to allow certain emotions in our body, hold them, not make them mean other things about us, meaning that when you feel an emotion, you don't let your brain run haywire with a bunch of extra negative thoughts that are going to boomerang. You don't let it keep you from maybe the life you want. You don't let it impact you in a negative light or in something that's going to keep you stuck. So that's what I mean by maybe you don't always have the capacity for certain emotions. And that's where the skill of emotional intelligence actually comes in, is that when you build emotional intelligence skills, you are essentially adding more capacity to move through more emotions that are challenging or difficult or feel negative in nature. There's really no negative versus positive emotion, but there will be certain emotions that feel really, really bad to us. And if we find that we are oftentimes feeling this bad, we'll quote it like, the emotion that feels bad. If we find that we're feeling those certain emotions over and over and over again, we need to come back home to ourselves to ask ourselves, why do I keep generating that emotion? And a lot of times it's going to come from our thoughts, but it's also going to come from maybe environment or actions that we're taking that keep us in a cycle, because the brain loves familiarity, even if it's uncomfortable with the results that we're seeing or experiencing in our life. So I really wanted to talk about this because what happens for a lot of clients is that they will find I keep attracting these situations that just don't feel good to me, these situations that I don't really like. And what I have found is that anything you do not heal from, okay, anything you do not heal from that is a pain point for you, if you do not heal from that, you will keep attracting it until you do, okay? Ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. Shoving it under the rug, or as I like to say, is placing it in our metaphorical locker, is not going to make it go away, okay? Sometimes just changing the environment alone is not going to make it go away, because the core pieces of why you behave the way that you do, or think the way that you do, or feel the way that you do, if you don't get a grip on that, you will keep learning painful lessons sometimes until you do. Because the energy of which you operate is sending out that invisible kind of frequency, right? That boomerangs back to you. So this is something that can sometimes feel very difficult to grasp, but is also so important to grasp, especially when there's something happening in your life that you do not like. Okay, like what is the lesson? What do you have to learn? What do you have to change? What skill do you have to grow? What do you have to grow in general in order to break this pattern? What do you need to heal from? Do you need to heal from certain thoughts you've carried for decades in your life? Do you need to learn skills for emotions that you have never felt like you've had the capacity to feel because it's felt too painful? It's literally felt like, if I carry this emotion in my body, I'll just die, or it's just too much. So anxiety is a big one for people, right? A lot of us, we do not like the visceral response of having anxiety. We do not like it. And something for a lot of my clients is when they come to me and they're very anxious, they want all of that anxiety to go away. And if we get to the core root of what is causing the anxiety, oftentimes the hardest part of revisiting whatever causes anxiety is the feeling of, if anxiety comes up in my body, I'm not going to know what to do with it. I'm not going to know how to move through it without distracting myself or without a coping mechanism I also don't like. So for instance, if you are big with anxiety, you might feel like the only way to cope with it is to have a drink. okay? And maybe you think like, okay, what I really want is I want to be able to engage socially with other people, okay? But you also have thoughts of like, I won't fit in, or they'll judge me, or they'll think I'm awkward, they'll think I'm weird, I might not be able to relate to the conversation. Everything that I just named off, those are just thoughts. They're thoughts and their frequencies you are putting out in the world, whether you realize it or not. And in return from those thoughts, you feel anxiety. And based on that anxiety, right, you're going to take certain actions or not. So you might still put yourself in the environment with a lot of anxiety and decide, I'm going to do it, but I'm also going to drink in order to try and do it as best as I can. And maybe that's not who you want to be. Or another option is you might not engage in the social circles at all and lay on the couch and wish that you were. And that's also not who you want to be. And so this is what I mean by expanding your emotional capacity, aka your emotional intelligence, because there is a way to put yourself, for just this one example, in social circles without needing to drink to get through it, and without having all of the anxiety consume you while you're in that social environment, and also to be in the social environment without resorting to just bumming it out on the couch and wishing that you were there. There is a way to have it all, but you have to heal, right? And really face the things that have brought you to that point and be willing to grow through it, because what you do not heal, you will continually attract. And so here's what I mean in the attraction point. You might continually attract social opportunities, right? That where you're like, oh my gosh, people know I don't want to hang out socially. Why do I always get invited? Or why do I always end up in a situation where, maybe I'm drunk in social groups and I don't like it, or I end up making the same mistakes, or I end up having the same conversations that make me feel embarrassed days later. Like, how do I keep getting here? Or if you feel lonely, right? How do I keep putting myself in this situation where I feel lonely over and over and over again? And it's all because of what you are or are not willing to face and to heal in order to break patterns for things that you do not like. And so anything that we are not willing to heal, we get the opportunity over and over and over again to change it, especially if it's something that we don't like. So same thing with the dating world. Like, you might know the type of, partner you don't want to attract. And maybe you still attract that type of partner in every single date that you have. Okay. And it's like, what is going on? Why do I keep attracting this same partner who talks to me the same way or treats me the same way every single time? Like, what is going on? And you can go into victim mentality of like, something's wrong with me, or I deserve it, or I'm not worthy, or it's because of this. Or there's another option, right? There's also the option to get really, really clear on what you like and don't like if you're dating, right? In this, again, specific example. And then understanding like, what skills do I have to develop in order to stop attracting this type of partner or this type of behavior. And for a lot of my clients, this comes down to boundaries. Maybe they have never, ever, ever set boundaries because it makes them so uncomfortable. They're so afraid to speak up for themselves. They don't have assertive skills. Assertive skills are one of 20-something skills that you work on with EQ, emotional intelligence, okay? So that's just a simple example. Same thing with people pleasing. If you are a people pleaser and if you've created an entire identity around people pleasing, right, you are going to probably attract a lot of people who ask for favors and ask for things that end up creating internal resentment that you're always saying yes to, because you don't have the skill of saying no and managing the emotions you feel from saying no, okay? So maybe like, even if you do say no, you spend days with guilt. And in the guilt, you start eating, or you start drinking, or you start binge watching TV, or, like, this is what I mean. It's an all-encompassing, very holistic thing for us to look at what things we're constantly attracting over and over and over again. Because a lot of times, if we're attracting it over and over and over again, it means there's something, some sort of thought, some sort of emotion, some type of skill, some sort of action or behavior or something we've wrapped up into a personality trait of ours where we experience the same thing over and over again. And it's not as punishment, it's actually an opportunity over and over and over again to change the thing we don't like. So until you heal and find that you are worthy enough to set boundaries or worthy enough to stop people pleasing, for example, you will attract people who test every single one of your boundaries and skills. And you will keep attracting it until you obtain the skills to change your behaviors and therefore attract different behaviors and different people in your life that do not operate from the same vibration you're allowing in your life currently. Okay, so this is something, same thing with business, clients that you attract or don't attract, like all of it, like we're walking around in a world that is made up of energy, and all of the results we're getting are responding to the energy that we're putting out. So if you are getting a result in your life that you're not happy with, you need to turn and look at yourself in the mirror and say, what is within my control to change? What do I need to learn here? What is the lesson? How do I stop this behavior? How do I stop getting turned down from promotions? How do I stop getting fired? How do I stop attracting this kind of partner? How do I stop sabotaging myself in this way around these people? Or, how do I stop getting into these dramatic situations with friend groups or whatever, right? Whatever it is. If there's a pattern that's repeated in your life for a very long time, right? Even if a long time for you is it could be 5 weeks, right? That could be a long time to experience something you're not happy with. So think about 5 months, 5 years, 50 years, right? If you've experienced any of this for a prolonged amount of time, the thing that you have to do is look in the mirror and say, what do I need to learn? What do I really need to see and take away in order to heal whatever is causing this consistent result that I especially do not love? And if you have tried to find it and you haven't gotten a different result, it's usually time to ask for some help. Okay? And that is something that I help clients do. I really want you to be able to get out of your own way in life. And so part of what I do as an emotional intelligence coach is I help you actually understand your thoughts and the emotions that are being created from those thoughts. And then also we take those emotions and the emotions that you don't really like feeling, that feel like total butt, okay? I always say feels like ass to my clients. We take and we expand your capacity to feel those things and to push yourself into creating different results by taking different actions, by changing behaviors, by releasing things that don't serve you, by healing things that, you've maybe run away from your entire life because it didn't feel good and you didn't have the capacity. And so what we do is we expand your capacity, and I help you raise your emotional intelligence so that you can go create results you want and stop attracting things that you don't. Okay, so if this sounds like it's something that you need, I highly encourage you to go to MacyRenee.com and schedule a free 60-minute consult so that you can find out, right, if we're a good fit, because not only does it need to be a good fit for me, but it needs to be a good fit for you as well, right? It's the both of us making that decision. And if it feels like a good decision to move forward, we can talk about some different ways that I can help you. I've got several different ways that I work with clients and ways that I love to help. But remember, anything that you are seeing in a pattern in your life that you do not actively do something about to change, you will keep attracting until you do. So when my clients are like, here I go again, this always happens to me, or here, I've found myself landing here again and again and again and again. It's like, okay, you need to get really clear on what you're doing that creates that. What thoughts create that? What emotions create that? What behaviors create that? What thinking, actions, everything. Like, what is creating that? And you need to take accountability and radical responsibility first, okay? And we can work through that together to change patterns that you want to heal from so you can create different results. Because the worst thing that you can do is get into a victim mentality again, where you feel like life is happening to you and everything is woe is me. This always happens to me. That's the worst place for us to be as humans, because then we really will be in cycles forever that are not going to change. As soon as we're a victim and as soon as we're blaming other people, we have given away our power. You do not have power once you've given it away. And we always give it away when we're blaming something or someone else. So we have to take back. I always tell my clients, it's like, it's like giving away your pen, your ink pen, okay? And letting someone else or wanting someone else to write your story. Don't let anybody else write your story. You write your story. But as soon as you blame someone, you hand someone else, the person you're blaming, your pen. And then you wait on them to start writing your story. And guess what? They're focused on their own pen. They're not worried about yours. So then you end up being helpless and whiny, right? And a victim. And then nothing ever changes. What you actually have to do is grab that pen back and say, I am in charge. What am I going to do to change my life? And when it's not working by doing it on your own, it's time to get some help and to humble yourself and let yourself allow the help. That's the biggest thing for women, especially, is a lot of times we're like, I'll just do it on my own. I'll just figure it out. I'll just figure it out. I've got it, right? And maybe you do got it, but it often takes way more time than when you have someone in your corner who is spotting every little mishap that your brain has, right? Knowing your goal. Like whenever you're able to course correct faster, life changes much more quickly when you're allowing it. So if you need some help with any of this, visit MacyRenee.com. Make sure to schedule a free consult. We'll talk about your life, what's going on, what you're happy with, what you're not happy with, some things that you're maybe wanting to change. And then we will talk about different ways that we can work together. Okay? All right. I hope you all have a fabulous week, and I will see you soon. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at MacyRenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at MacyRenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.